How's it going, everyone? We're going to take a look at a very different figure here. So this does look like a Gundam, but it is not a metal build Gundam. It still is a metal build figure, but it is not an official Gundam figure. This is made in China for the Chinese market, and this is the Motor Nuclear series. This is number 3 of that series, MNQ03 Albing. That's the name of this particular unit, or the frame of this one. It does kind of use similar inner body frame of metal build figures, the official ones, but it's not the same. It leans heavily into Chinese culture and Chinese designs, and that's something that was really interesting about this MNQ or Motor Nuclear series. There are about 4, maybe 5 series of figures or individual models of figures that have released so far. Some have been announced as well and revealed, and they look amazing. Lubu is one of the recent ones, and it looks amazing. But this one I decided to go with first because it had a blue dragon on it. I thought, why not? Let's check it out. I did get this one from AliExpress for around £220 roughly, so not exactly cheap by any means. And this is a big, sizable figure for sure. It's, I believe, 1/72 scale. Still, the package is big, right? But if you're familiar with Metal Build Gundam, then you might be familiar with this and be accustomed to this quite easily. But like I said, this is an original series. Either the series of figures, Motor Nuclear, was made first and then inspired the Manhwa, the Chinese comic, or it was the other way around. I had a brief look at the Chinese comic, and this particular unit, this Albing, barely appears. There's only like 15 chapters translated wonky in English, but that's all it was. And so I don't know much about this story. There's something about soul power that this one guy has, and he can summon these things or these frames, right? But you know what? At the end of the day, it was a figure that interested me, so let's have a look at the figure. So packaging wise, like I said, it's a big thing here. It's a big thick box. It was packed very tightly in the actual Motor Nuclear kind of brown case as well, so there is a bit of a dent on my package, but otherwise a very energetic, very hype looking package here. You can see the frame. He's already got the dragon face attached to one of the arms. The dragon does come separate, but we'll get into that a little bit later. MNQ03 Albing is the name. I'll do a poor Chinese pronunciation of the bottom line, I guess. Is Dihui Xinghan Longzi. I don't know what that means. That's my poor attempt at pronouncing that. I don't know what the bottom stuff says. There is some English translation here and there on the box, and a very, very wonky English translation, I might add. On the side panel, you've got a picture again of the frame behind, and this guy who I'm just going to call him Aquaman or something. Maybe he has some link with this particular unit in the story, but I didn't see him in the story or the release chapter so far. You've got a few different panels here, or hexagonal panels showing you the figure itself in different ways. So you've got a dragon bit, which is separate. Overall, this is what it's going to end up looking like, one of the main displays people have him in, with the main unit and then the dragon down here at the bottom. You've got the inner working of the metal build kind of body itself. So if you're familiar with Metal Build Gundam, this might be right up your alley and you might be familiar with it and easily accustomed to this kind of figure too. It says MNQ02 here, Kaoren. I might have butchered that pronunciation. That's actually the second model. That looks cool too. Maybe there's some sort of compatibility between weapons and parts with them. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know why it's actually mentioned that there. On the other side of the panel or box, you've got another picture of that image of the guy and the frame that just zoomed in. On the top, Legend of Star General here. It's a very heavy box, I might add. And then on the bottom, you've just got a couple of bits of information, some English translation here, and it's very, very wonky. So inside the box, it does come in layers, as I mentioned. So the first layer is basically part of this stand you can see here. I believe these are the actual projection lights there and a bunch of base plastic stands. Then you've got the main body here. So hopefully I can get that in frame. It's not going to be fully in frame, but yeah, as you can see, you do need to assemble it in some way. So you've got the arms all separated so far, even the hands and stuff. But looking pretty good so far, pretty sizable figure. You've got that big blade there. Then you've got the dragon part of the figure here, which is all disassembled again. Here's the face down in the bottom right, you can see there. See if you can get a better angle of that. But looks good. So you can assemble it as the main dragon, as one piece, as a dragon, or assemble it to the figure so it comes a bit more like a combined form, I guess. And this is the base stand, again, the other part of the base stand, the main base here. So I'm going to assemble this right now. Hopefully I don't break anything in the meantime. Wish me luck. Inside the package is also an instruction sheet to follow to assemble the actual figure. This is in Chinese on one side and then English, rough English on the inside. Little story segment here as well. Star Soul General. His name, it belongs to 108 stars. It is born only by soul. He made a mutual contract with Lan Kun, I believe that's Lan Kun, fight to defend the kingdom of Long Hai. So a nice little story addition in this instruction sheet. To assemble the arm, it's not too difficult. It is quite straightforward. When you get it out of the packaging, this should all be in one connected piece. So you got the shoulder plate armor here, this bit here as well on the shoulder, and then the actual full piece of the arm. Let me lay down the figure just to kind of show you that a little bit closer, because I don't want to break the figure by accident. So you can, if you want to, take this little bit off here. This is just on a little kind of peg, you could say, here, just to make it easier for you. And all you got to do, grab the figure, get the joint prepared as well. Make sure this is all lined up clearly, and then just force that in. And then it should eventually just kind of get into place. It is quite tight, and it's probably better it's tight, but just be careful and mindful where you hold the figure in your hand and where you're pushing as well, because you don't want to end up breaking like a fragile plastic bit, for example, the skirt armor or something like that. So just be mindful of that. And then it pretty much should just fall right into spot, and if it slips, again, be mindful of that. So lucky for me, it just stopped, but otherwise that's it. And then you can just replace this piece back into that slot, which is up here, like so, and that's it. And then now we can move on to the head as well. Now we're going to put the head on. It's very simple to do. You just got a ball joint there and then a socket on the underside of the head. So we'll do that. But here is a close look at this head sculpt first, which is looking super cool. Like, I really love it. Lots of blue details happening in different shades of blue. The green gemstone in the center of the forehead, and then the eyes as well in green gem as well. Kind of like toothy kind of face mask thing. Looks really good. I really like the details on this. And then this is the back side of it, armored plated look as well. So let's go ahead and put the head on. Don't want to damage the figure. So again, be mindful of where you're holding onto the figure so you don't damage anything. And then same when you plug the head in. So I'm going to be careful here. Now that's Al being with the head attached. Now, to be honest, I had to apply a little bit of pressure onto it for it to snap into place. So I did it off camera, but it is now attached there. We'll go through the articulation in just a moment, but there you can see it looks very cool. Now looking a lot more complete. Once you've got the head attached, you can now actually remove it. And what should happen is it comes off with the battery box as well. So this battery box is just going to allow you to light up the lights, obviously. Just flick the switch. There's no batteries in here at the moment. You can have access to that, or where to put the batteries down here. Just remove the cap and put the batteries in. Next, we're going to assemble the halberd, which should be relatively easy to do. But as you can see, is a very long piece. But we'll show you that in more detail soon. So you've got to get this bit here, the bladed bit curved at the end, and then this bit here. You can see the kind of area where it needs to slide into, and then hopefully we can get that aligned here like so, and then slowly slide that in. Hopefully nothing breaks in the process, and there we go. It's in nice and secure. And then just do the reverse to take that out. Hopefully nothing has broken. I'll have a close look at it later. And then we need to do the end tip, and that's going to be this bit here. You see the gold arrow there. This is just on the hexagonal end or socket there, which should just kind of go in nicely. Let's try that here. Kind of gets stuck on me here, so I'm going to leave it there for now, and hopefully it doesn't break when it's twisting it. You can probably heat it up. I'm going to leave mine there for now. I don't want to break the peg or anything. But this is the full view of the halberd. It's a very long weapon for sure, but it looks awesome. Next up is the backpack, and that's going to look like this on a square peg. That just plugs into the back of the figure, simply like so. You can remove it fairly easily too, but it's quite a nice snug fit. So assembling the dragon can be a little bit tricky. In fact, I've actually broken a little bit here. So this is a section of the dragon. You can have this as kind of the bottom section or the top section. So this is actually going to be for the legs, with the legs or arms attached to these little pegs here. So this one I've attached fine. You can see kind of pivots there. And then you need to attach the rest of the body, which I'm going to do off camera again still, even though I still broke something. But basically how that combines is it's going to be this piece here with the kind of fins here, the gem green fins here, and then this piece here, which is also packed separately in the box. This has a joint already in there. Mine's already snapped off here because it was so stiff. Only one side goes up and down, you can see there. This side just stays fixed inside the actual socket there. But then what you need to do is, this is going to be, say again, the top half or the bottom part of it, up to you. This bit is already plugged into my one here. You need to combine these two. Now, obviously, if you're going to do this like that, it's not too great. So what I've done for that one, at least after I broke this one, was to just use a hairdryer here and then slowly just kind of work it in. Don't do it on the joint, because then you're going to make the joint heat up, and that's probably going to be even worse. So that's how I did it for that one. What I can do here, though, it does kind of stick inside there, almost like a kind of peg almost. So I'm going to see how that works later on. And I'm still going to maybe contact the seller, see if I can get a replacement part or something. I'm going to need the whole section here, this whole bit, because obviously the peg's stuck inside. But let's see how it works once I've combined it all together. Hopefully it still looks okay and it kind of stays together in some way. We'll see. So here's the figure fully assembled. Let me tell you, this was a pain in the back, blood, sweat, and a little bit of tears, maybe little tears to put together, surprisingly. So I'm going to talk through the figure first and then kind of disassemble it a little bit. Probably won't disassemble it fully because I don't want to break anything because I've already broken some stuff. But what I've done is I've assembled the figure, the dragon as well, and then the actual accompanying lights that also come with this as well. So not just these lights here, the stands here that you can see here, but also the lights that come on the motonuclear's head itself and then the dragon's head. You don't get batteries with this package at all, so I had to wait for Amazon to deliver those. Awesome, for Prime now, so I got those today. So different batteries for each of those, which I'll speak through in a moment as well. But just first up, you can see how magnificent this piece looks. So this is again motor nuclear MNQ03 Albing, and it looks, oh man, like it took a long time to set up. It definitely took a long time to set up, but it does look so damn good. It looks so damn good. I haven't actually measured it, but I think it's like 20 centimeters or something like that, maybe a bit more than that actually. My eye measurement is pretty terrible. Let me be honest with that. But it does look so damn good, but it is a hassle to set up. So what we've got here with the lights already switched on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the lights off, and then you can kind of have a very brief look at what it looks like with these accompanying spotlights on, as well as the headlights on it. You're not going to get a great look here. I'll have a greater look later on. I'll probably add that as B-roll too. But here's what it looks like once I switch the lights off. So I haven't changed the camera angle or anything. This is straight lights off. So everything is in the exact same position as it was with the lights on. So you can kind of basically work out the dragon's head here and a bit of the kind of whisker effect here. And then you've got the main motor-nuclear model in the center there. His arm is pointing outwards, so it might be covering a lot of it. But you can see where it's kind of got the spotlight onto its like right and left hips. And then there's one tucked behind, and that's the one that you can see right there, actually. But you can see also the lights have a purple tint to it, or hopefully you can see that. They are purple. They're not like a clear blue, a cool blue or warm white type of color. They are purple. So that gives the overall motor-nuclear model this really distinct purple look on wherever it is blue. So where the blue is, that's no longer blue with these lights. It's purple. The dragon isn't really affected so much, but basically the motor-nuclear model, the best way I can describe the color scheme with the lights like this is think Frieza from Dragon Ball Z. It looks like that, white and purple, and it looks stunning like that as well. I really do like it. So it's dark for sure, but I do really like it. But I'm going to turn the lights back on now. But let's go back to the model itself. So what I've done, I've got it posed up. So clearly you can pose this guy as well. I've got the dragon on the base stands as well. The dragon takes a lot of work and tinkering to assemble. I did break the dragon purely down to tight joints, which I'll get to later on in this video as well. So he can be posed. I've got the tail attached to him, or the whip. It can be used in two different ways. The armor is already there. I haven't taken a lot off of the figure in terms of armor or decorative plates or anything like that. The base is already done as well. The base has been set up. This, if you're familiar with metal build Gundam stuff, this is pretty much going to be the same thing. It's frustrating to kind of pull apart afterwards when you want to pack everything away. And I think the actual mechanism to kind of lock it into place, I'm not really that, I'm a bit paranoid with it, to be quite honest. So hopefully they can improve the lock mechanism in future MNQ stuff as well. These little things here, these are additional bases for the stands to secure the dragon in place, or for the spotlights as well. With this motor-nuclear model, you do get the spotlight and base, the base comes, but the spotlights you don't get the spotlights with some of the other motor-nuclear stuff. I realized. I think motor-nuclear 2, you don't get that with. So this is very interesting that you get it here. So I'm going to jump around a bit. So this little base here is going to be partly what you use to secure this arm here, or even the spotlight too. So you can use a few of these. I didn't use every single one that was included in the package. And then to secure this onto the actual base itself, you use one of these kind of like brick type of things. Might be familiar to you if you played with some toys back in the day. And then there's these little slits here. You just got to slot them in like that, and then add the accompanying either brick or onto the main stand. You can see some slits in and around the stand here as well, and that will secure it in place. I would definitely recommend not just using a single one 1-to-1 here, use 1-to-1 here as well, so you get the best and sturdiest fit. So let's jump onto some weapon stuff as well, but then we'll go into the figure. So this is the halberd that's included in the box. I've showed how to assemble this at the end of the video. It's very cool looking. It's a huge little weapon. Huge little weapon, yeah. It's a huge little weapon. I'm gonna stretch my arms out just to get that in shot. So make sure if you're gonna have this figure with this equipped, make sure you have enough shelf space and real estate and clearance, because it is a very, very long weapon. But it looks so awesome. It's got this ruby green or emerald green, not ruby green, emerald green edge blade to it, which is a bit of translucency there, you can see too. It looks absolutely nice. I really like it. This is more very cartoony kind of looking. You know, I think it's intentional and it looks good as well. I would have preferred a little bit more gunmetal grey. That's just a personal choice. A cool metallic finish, just again a personal choice. I don't think it looks bad by any means. And then you come down to the handle, which is going to be pure red, and you've got little etches or notches in here. Actually, the hands don't notch into this or grip into this. I thought it did. It does for the sword, but not for this. And then finally, at the end, you've got the spike here, which you've got to twist on. But otherwise, very nice looking weapon to start off with. We'll talk about his sword later, but let's talk about the whip or the tail. Or you can call these cannons or something. So actually, this has multiple uses. So this is very cool. You can see it looks a lot like, say, Dr. Octopus's tentacles. Very nice looking. So you got this kind of metallic segmented piece here, which goes throughout. You get numerous pieces of these on a joint here that kind of pivots and rotates. It's really nice, actually. That's got like a kind of a rubberized look to it and piping look to it. And it looks really, really nice. Looks really nice. This little end joint here is already attached to the figure. It's so bloody hard to get it out. So my fingers were honestly really hurting by the evening of playing around with this figure. So what you want to do with this one here, you got different ways to use it. So here you can see I've got it attached as a tail on him with an end bit on there. If you want to do that, all you got to do, you got to take this bit off and then you got to attach it to a tail piece, which I'll show you later. Or you can use this as some sort of like whip cannon that comes from the backpack. And then this, you just got to plug in. This actual joint you plug into the backpack after you remove the armor. If I remember how to do it by the end of this video, I'll show you. It's just there's a lot to talk about, so I may forget bits here and there. And then one other cool way of using it is as an actual hand whip. So I've got a little piece here, so I've put everything here so I don't lose everything. So this little end piece here, you can see has a spiky on it. Looks a lot like, you know, kind of like a kunai in a way. Got a metallic finish to it. It's very nice. So what you can do here, you can actually just plug this end bit into this bit here. I've got this secure. Actually, you can just do it here. It's probably easier just to do it here. Just add it in like so. And then there you can see. This will end up acting as the handle. So get the figure to grab onto it here. And then this bit at the end, you can include this end section here. Kind of like a cannon. So it's very cool. Or if you wanted it as a double-sided whip, you get two of these pieces. So you could add it onto there if you wanted to. So different configurations you can do just for this one whip, which I think is awesome. Here's that little cannon bit as a closer view. You get two of these. One, as you can see, already attached as a tail piece, but you can attach it to the whip or even as the backpack kind of whip cannon bit. That's the front of it. And it's got that blue colorway that most of the armor plating has on the figure too. Briefly touching on the sword, but not the actual sword, is this sheath or energy effect for it. So this I've already just removed. I can straight away attach this onto the blade. In fact, I might try that now, but it will weigh it down. So the sword will end up coming down, but you can just click that into place. The sword's coming down now. So I'm going to take that back off, but it's very easy to use. You can add that onto the blade itself, or you can add it to the backpack of the actual figure and you get a piece to attach to the backpack like this. This simply just plugs in on the peg bit there onto the backpack, and then you can just put this in, and that's how it is. So you can have the blade in there and he's carrying it on its backpack. You can angle this as well, but you're going to have to take off some of the blue armored plating there, which will show you, hopefully, if I remember, towards the end of the video as well. Now to show you some of the hands that this comes with. So he's got articulated hands, i.e. the fingers can articulate, which are awesome. We'll have a closer look at those in a second. And then he comes with a pair of different hands. I'm going to show you one each of each right hand. So from the back, they look quite similar, but actually the angle of them is a bit different. This one's straight on, this one's angled, and the gripping of them is ever so slightly different as well. So you can see the one on the left is straight, and then the one here is angled as well at the fingertips. For me, one of them, I can't remember which one it was now exactly, wouldn't grip the halberd properly. I think it was probably this one with the more narrow grip here. This one was able to hold both weapons. This one struggled a bit. I don't know if that's just going to be for me, both my hands were like that, or if that's an actual thing with this figure. Personally, I prefer to use the articulated fingers mostly, but if you do have this one, it is going to be a bit of a more secure grip, whichever weapon that you choose. Random thing, you get a screwdriver in the box to assemble the stand and arms, as well as unscrew the light options as well. One minor thing about the stand, I have no idea what this metal bracket is for. Maybe if you string up the dragon, maybe that's why. Otherwise, I had no idea how to use this. All right, so let's now have a closer look at this figure. So I'm going to turn it around if I don't knock it. So I'm just going to bring it a bit closer. I'm not going to move the camera too close, then you can't see anything. So you can see the dragon is wobbling a bit. It is a bit tricky to get it to stand up on these stands. I don't fully trust them, even though I did leave it overnight and it was okay. But definitely try and get a more secure way to do it. I would probably use some strings in your cabinet if you can do that. But as I mentioned earlier on, this does look super stunning. It really is a very intricate looking piece as well. And this thing casts shadows amazingly. Like, you can just play with shadows all you want. It's awesome to look at. Just kind of see the silhouette of it as well. It's very spiky for some people. I know some people are going to be like, oh, it's too anime, just too many edges, too many spikes and whatever. But, you know, I like it. I like it. That said, however, a lot of the MNQ designs do follow this whole spiky kind of theme, and some people are kind of getting bored of it already, like 5 figures in. But for me, yeah, this is a really, really, really awesome display piece. Obviously, you can see it takes up quite a lot of space once you've got the dragon assembled. If you want to have the dragon sitting on, you know, the ground, so to speak, you can do that, but it doesn't look as cool. You can see I've got everything assembled here. Now, I did break my dragon. You can't really notice it, or maybe you can. But I did break it in a couple of small spots. His head is going to hit the wall, so I'm going to turn it back around the other way. But you can see, if you look closely, there is a break there. I'm going to talk about that again in each bit later on. But basically, with the dragon, let's talk with the dragon first. Each of these balls that you can see here, the dragon's balls are very sturdy. They're hard balls. And they all articulate to a degree. Very, very much to a degree. It's very minor. They pretty much only go up and down, and you can twist them. But my God, the sockets on each joint was ridiculously tight on my unit. I saw other people's videos and they were just slotting it in easy peasy and going, oh no, lucky there. I'm going to keep that in there. That's what I mean. Like, it's very, very fragile, so just be very careful. But yeah, people were just slotting the dragon in and going on their merry way, and that was just baffling. And the broken bit has revealed itself. So here is where mine broke. So you know what, since that's happened, let's have a closer look at it. I'm gonna try and move bits here. So what I'll do, I'm gonna twist it back around there. So what happened for me is basically what I was touching on is the very, very, very tight joints. I am not kidding you. These were so tight. I started sweating just trying to put them all together. I had to use hairdryer many times. I had to soak them in water after this anyway, and it was just a nightmare. So one of my sockets here has a broken peg stuck inside. I can't do anything about it. I mean, I could probably Dremel it out or something. But depending on how I've got this set up, I can connect it almost like a peg-ish, and you won't really notice it unless you look really closely. So I don't think many of you guys in the beginning noticed it until I knocked it by accident. So that's the major break that's happened for me. Again, if you do get this figure, I would say put the dragon and its parts in some water for a bit. So this dragon doesn't come assembled. Nothing comes assembled fully. It comes in 5 pieces. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That will be one long piece. And then you'll get this section here with the green fins. You get 2 of these. One is down here. And then the other one was up there, just before the body. And then you get another segment of the dragon as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 2 5-segment pieces. Dump those in some hot water for the time being when you get it out of the package, and just let it soak for a bit so it kind of loosens up and works its way into the sockets. What I did for some of the joints as I got them loose is I put a little bit of Vaseline on it because they were that tight. They were ridiculously tight, and that's why that peg there broke. It's really disappointing that happened, especially given how much this cost. But there wasn't, sadly, you know, it's one of those things that does happen. So I'm gonna actually take the dragon off here, off these stands. And this gives me a good chance to actually mention the stand bit too. Each stand or each arm I've got has an end clipper on it. And each clip, interestingly, I'm going to lay the dragon down, or half his body down, has a very cool rubberized claw or clip on there. This is a bit tough to take off, so we're going to take off the base, that's easier. Here, you can kind of see this here. It's got a rubberized end to it, which is awesome. And I think more figures should actually have that. I think that would just prevent damage, and it actually provides a bit better of a grip than without having that. So it was a nice addition. Every single clip has it. You get 5 clips in the box. So this is a close look at the bottom half of the dragon's body. Again, you can see the peg is stuck inside there, which is a crying shame. It really is a shame. I've reached out to the seller. I actually got this from Baba Bobo. I'll put the link in the description below. And they have said to me they're going to look at or try and get some parts if they can. But you can see the damage. I couldn't do anything about it. But in terms of actual looks for the dragon, or at least the bottom half of the dragon, the top half is going to be the same. Stunning. Absolutely stunning. I love the blues on it. It's so great. The different shades of blue, the metallic blue work on it is absolutely top tier stuff. I love it. You know, to think that this is not like a licensed product, really. This is just an original Chinese product, obviously based on Gundam models, is amazing. I love the ball joints here in terms of the way they look. They are great. They look very metallic, and depending on the lighting on your display, it's going to look so awesome. Like this dragon piece is really good. Beware of the various spikes, not just on the dragon, but on the figure too. So for example, all these spikes here, you don't want to knock these too hard. I have. Fortunately, they've been okay. For each segment, you've got these little articulating little bits here. They're kind of like fins that flare up if you want. And you can pose them if you really want to. They open ever so slightly, each one does, and you can close them again. That's just awesome to see. I know it's just replicating each little segment, but it's awesome to see. And then when we go back here to this section here, this is going to be very similar to the top half as well, where the head is. So you've got a piece also that has the arms on here. You can see the arms. These are on metal joints, the arms, and then they bend like so. Here you can see that, and then bend there, and then same with the hands. The claws look, those claws are so cool. I just love them. They look very bony, but also very just, I don't know, like really cool. You can move each individual claw as well, which is nice, apart from this back one here. Same again for the other hand. The arms on the upper part of the body are exactly the same as this. So most of this body replicates itself. The main difference is going to be this bit here, which replicates itself upper top, and then the tail here. And so speaking of the tail, this is the other section that I did damage. So with the tail, you've got this spike here. Be careful with that as well. But it acts very much the same as the other ones. But you got the green, emerald green bits here. Be careful with these. You can see there's a very slight protrusion here, spike here. This will catch on things. This, I promise you, this will catch on if you've got like sleeve clothes on. So I've rolled up my sleeves. But this bit here is the one that broke. You can see here. You can actually take this off. The instructions don't even tell you that. That would have been handy. You can actually just remove this off of that bit there, like so. But mine, the tip of it has broken off. I'm going to put this here so I don't lose it now. But that did break, so that's the other damage on my figure. Those are the two main breaks on my figure, actually. So again, I've asked Baba Bobo to give me a replacement there. So let's talk a little bit about the articulation. Now, because it is in segments, each segment is basically the exact same. So I'm going to just try and find one that I'm comfortable to work with. So basically what you've got is the bit that goes inside is the bit that can go up and down. So this goes up like that and then down like that. I'm being super careful with mine, but there is a limit to how far you can go. It's basically, that's the max limit there. And then this end bit that goes into the other side, working backwards towards the tail. So this joint here, that does not articulate. That's a stationary fixed point, and that's the one that is stuck inside here. So this one did not articulate. It's the one opposite that would have articulated. So keep that in mind if you get this. Watch this segment a few times just to keep an eye on it. The one that's on the back side going downwards is the one that is fixed. The one that goes upwards towards the head is the one that articulates up and down. So just be very careful of that if things start getting stiff. So for me, like, it gets stiff on both sides. So here, this is the up down bit that's moving here. You can hear that. It's so bloody stiff. If I want to move this one, rotate it, you can, but it's quite stiff as well. So if I was able to disconnect them, then I added a little bit of Vaseline or some grease, and that was okay for a little bit. But just keep that in mind for every single segment of this dragon, not just the bottom half that I'm talking about. The top half does matter as well. It acts the same way. But with the articulation, that does allow you to kind of twist each segment of the body a little bit and incline or decline. So you can get it posed really awesomely, swirling around on the base as well. It's going to take a lot of effort, I'll tell you that much, but maybe that effort is worth it to you. We're going to continue talking about the dragon. So I'm going to take him off of the base completely now. So I'm going to talk about his upper body here. So again, it's on the same rubberized clips. Use your stands or arms, arrange them what you're most comfortable with and what is most sturdy for the dragon as well. So just as we talked about the bottom half of the dragon, this is a very long dragon. It's over 1 meter long once you've got it all connected. So the top half acts the exact same way, including this fin bit here. So you get 2 of these again. Every other segment behaves the same way, and then until you reach the head. So the head, here's a closer look at it, is magnificent. So the head doesn't actually come attached with these orange effect pieces. I've done that myself, but it does look so cool. Again, you've got that metallic blue going on, gold for the eyebrows, got the emerald green, that's kind of like bearded bits as well. And then again, the kind of bony spikes as well. Very good looking dragon here. And the teeth are awesome as well. But again, be careful of all the numerous spikes on this guy because you don't want to get stabbed and you don't want to accidentally break anything. I've been okay so far for the head, but not elsewhere, as you may have noticed a bit in the beginning. So with this dragon head, this is actually disconnected and this is on a ball joint at the end here. And I'm actually going to take that off now because, you know, why not? You do get range of motion here, go up and down a little bit. And then with the dragon face, we'll get into that bit. I'm going to take that off. That just comes off like so. So this is going to be the top half of the body. As I mentioned, it will be in 5 segments and then you get 2 separate segments, this segment, and you've got to connect it. Just be careful when you do get to the connecting phase. So for the dragon's head, he does have very minor articulation at the jaw here, or the maw. You can see it goes down and then closes as well. Down and closes as well. Looks very, very good. That's the audio articulation that he's going to have. This effect piece is not connected by default, so I'm going to take this off now. You got to pull that out. Let's get that out gently. Open his mouth a bit. Each strand here is actually applied separately too. There we go, got that out. So this center piece here goes into the mouth on a peg, and then this whisker piece goes on there like so. Similarly, you'll do it for the other side too. So here's the dragon without the piece inside it, but you can see the peg is now naked there, and that does allow him to close his jaw much better. Speaking of that peg though, I think I found the real reason for that piece that I didn't know how to use before. This actually fits snugly and perfectly onto this peg here. Let's just do that. There we go. So this is another alternate view of how to use this particular piece. But the actual piece inside this dragon is supposed to be a cannon, and that cannon is here. So this is the actual piece that's on the dragon by default. So I'm going to put that on right now. So this is the view that you're going to get normally when you get it out of the box. And that's very cool. And what you can also do with this dragon is you can change its mantle. So this piece here. So if the instructions weren't clear enough, and they're not that clear, you can lift this up here. It's on a peg, and then just kind of work it a bit. Hopefully it should kind of lift off. Takes a bit of time. There we go. There. Lift that off like so. And then you can swap that with the alternate mantle that this dragon comes with. So here's a close look again of this mantle here. It's a short blue piece. So this is the alternate version of the mantle, which has more green on there, and it's a longer piece as well. I don't mind it either. I actually still very much like the original one. Just put that back in like you would the other one. This one, for me, doesn't sit as nicely as the original mantle piece does, but I think it still looks okay. From the top, you won't even notice, but from the back, I feel like it's not sat down properly. But this is what it looks like with the other mantelpiece, and I think it looks good either way. Pick your choice, really. It's nice that they've given an alternate look. So while I've been talking about this, the actual batteries for this dragon's eyes have been on all this time. They're not great here. They're not the super brightest, and it's actually only the eyes that light up. It's not going to be the whiskers or anything. So that's a bit disappointing there, but this is how you access this bottom piece here. You can see, and then you can see this is the actual socket to attach it to the body of the dragon. And what you can do is you just need to pull that off here, and that gives you access to the battery socket. So we'll put the dragon's head aside for a little bit. Here you can see the light is switched on, It's a little bit hard to reach that switch there. But what you need to do is just unscrew here, and then you've got access to the AG4. You need 2 batteries of AG4 in there, and that's it. That's it. But you do get a replacement piece for this downward section, the kind of chin section of it. And this is the replacement piece. You can see this one is hollow. There is no battery box attached to this. Now the reason you want to use this one is you can attach this dragon face to the figure as an alternate hand or even a shoulder piece. If you do it as a hand, you will lose the battery option of it. And then what you need to do, you need to add a new peg into the socket here and then attach this back on. So what you can see, I'm not going to attach this to the figure itself because there's so many different configurations to do with this figure. I'm going to leave some of it to you guys, and I just don't want to break anything any further. So you put this back on as a replacement of the battery box. You do lose the battery, as I mentioned, and then you still got clearance for the hand of the actual MNQ figure to go in. So imagine this now being equipped as a hand kind of weapon, the dragon face as a fist. Last bit for the dragon is this effect piece that you can add to the other orange bit, and then it will look like he's shooting out from his mouth. These edge bits here, or spike bits, are super spiky, so be careful with that. So now we come on to the actual figure itself. So I'm going to get him off of the base. So to get him off to the base, I'm just going to have to pull him off. Hopefully I don't damage anything in the process, because that bit would be very, very, very sad for sure. So I'm going to get him off gently. There we go. And if you're familiar again with the Gundam stuff, then you may work out how to do this. So this kind of plugs into the underside of the figure and then onto the base stand as well. I don't really like this. I prefer the way that the single metal build that I've checked out had that, but that's how it works here. I'm going to hold on to this guy first since he's posed up already, and just kind of give you a closer look at this guy with his armor and everything and all the details. You can see this guy looks super good straight away. Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take his tail off too, because that has a tendency to come off there. So here's a quick look at the tail piece that goes into its back. And put that to the side and then continue to look at this figure. So here's the articulated hands, as I mentioned. Each finger is able to move independently, which is absolutely awesome. I love figures that have independent fingers. One of my earliest figures during childhood, do you know what it was that had articulated finger joints? Power Rangers. Power Rangers Red Ranger, one of the, I think it was their flagship figure line, had articulated fingers like this. Nowadays, they still don't want to give you that. Amazing that that had that back then. So this is awesome. I absolutely love this. You can see this little peg here, or this protrusion bit. That's allowing him to hold on to the sword in a much more sturdy way that the other hands won't really allow for. But generally speaking, even without that, I just love the way that these are articulated fingers. So I just like these a lot more. And the finish on them is super good as well. I love the metallic look on them. Gorgeous looking hands. So continuing with the details of this figure, the armor detailing on it is awesome. I love the blues going on. As I did mention, it does go purple with the purple lights for some reason, but it looks awesome. And depending on other lights that you got, the way the blues shine off gives a really different look to this figure. So I love it for that reason as well. You got a skirt armor down here with different points of articulation here. I'm going to bring this down here just so you can kind of see the kind of belt look here. It's like a very bony chain belt look here with a green gem in the center bit here. You got light blue around in the torso. You got the kind of like headlight bits there in gold. Yeah, really good kind of consistent kind of color and pattern work going on throughout. One thing I did notice, that he does have a sort of icon here on the left shoulder. The insignia, I'm not really sure what it's meant to like notify. Maybe just this particular Alping kind of soul power or something. But otherwise, yeah, he doesn't have too much of that going on. That's the only insignia that he has there. He's got other green accents going on, ruby accents on the shoulder armor here. That green jewel at the back as well. What you can do with this, you can remove this, and then you can have access to a port there if you want to use, say, the whip, for example. Here are the side backpack details that you can take off these top 2 fins as well if you want to have access and use those as sockets for the whips. This is where the tail went into. There's a cap cover for this that just has a red kind of blast port. Really, that's what it is to it. And then down towards his legs, you can kind of see they look very much like Gundam legs, as if most of this figure didn't look like a Gundam anyway. But otherwise, you should be familiar with it if you are a Gundam fan. If you're not, then this is going to be awesome still. You can see the knees here too. Really awesome stuff there. The exhausts all over the place really with this guy. You've got the ankle plating here as well. And you got the kind of toes here, gold toes. these are split down the middle, and then you've got this bit here at the back, the gold heel to the exhaust on the back calf as well. This is basically what this kind of tailpiece will look like. Once you cap that, it will look a bit like this basically. But otherwise, I think that's enough for the detail. I think you can agree this is a very, very awesome looking figure. It's a bit heavy, by the way, obviously consider its size, it's a much heavier figure, and it is metal as well. The actual inner frame is indeed metal. It is bigger as well than the metal build figures that officially Gundam released, so definitely all of that kind of adds up. So my arm's getting a little bit tired at this rate. Let's have a look at his sword. So you've got the red guard here and gold as well, and then you've got the green jewel inside too, goes down here with some kind of scripting on there. And then same again on the other side too. What you can do, you can actually pull off the back of the sword here, reveal that, and that will allow you to feed it through to the other hands that don't have the movable fingers. But I really like using the articulated fingers for sure. It looks really good. I'm going to take the sword out of his hands just to kind of show you how he's holding onto those there. You can see he wants his hands open. He's still holding onto it. So I'm going to take that off right now, and you can see that little notch there that actually plugs into the hand. And as I mentioned earlier, you can add this to the sheath as well if you want to use it. Kind of gives it a cool energy effect. So before we talk about articulation, I'm going to take off some of his armor plate so it doesn't get in the way. So you've got the shoulder bit here, which is just on a little peg like that. And actually on this shoulder bit there that we removed, you can attach the dragon face if you want to, with a spare attachment in the box. If you have 2 sets of these, you can use 2 dragon faces. That will probably look very, very menacing. I'm going to switch to the back quickly and then show you the plates there that you can remove. So this fin here on the backpack, just pull those off. So that's access to one of them. And you can do the same thing for this one here and then same on the other side. We're going to take off the forearm pieces as well. They're similar to the actual shoulder bit there. Take them off the peg. They do sometimes get in the way. You will need to take it off though if you want to use the dragon face as the hand, then otherwise it will get in the way. So take it off and then you can remove the hand as well. You can do the hand as well just to kind of show you how to take that off. Very simple, just comes on a simple peg. You can see that it doesn't really do anything else, it just pegs that slots in, and that's how you're going to get the rocking motion there. Now we can talk a bit more about articulation and moving parts here. So we'll start with the head. The head is going to be on a ball joint, which gives a decent range of motion to look up and down. Mine's a little bit stiff, you can kind of hear the stickiness on it there, but it's a decent range of motion for there. So the collars do move upwards as well. You can see they go up like so, and then down. I usually prefer them seated down. I just think it looks a little bit more natural, but if you want them collar up, why not? Shoulder armor does move up like so here, and then this bit here, the exhaust can also go up too. Of course, add the armor plating that I've just taken off. That's how it's going to be there. And then that's going to be the same for the other side too. In terms of torso, he's got a little bit of a downward bend. You can see there. It goes back upright. And then there's a twist at the lower waist. A little bit stiff on my one, but it is possible. I'm not going to push it too far so I don't damage anything. And then he can lean a little bit, just a little bit side to side, like so, which is okay. You know, it's okay. There's a lot with his legs, but let's go through the skirt articulation first. So he's got 2 flaps here, which can go up and down, and then they can kind of pull outwards and then up out of the way as well, like so. So this just allows him to get his legs up a little bit more. Same applies to the other side here. This midsection is stationary and fixed. And then on the side for the thigh armor, you've got this goes up and down and then swivels a little bit too. Similarly for the back skirt bit there, it just goes up and down and then goes up quite far as well. So for the legs, he can bring his legs out to the side kick really nice amount. So he can do the same on the other side too. And then he can twist the leg too. Doesn't really twist too much there. That's about as far as mine will go. It may go a little bit further, but I'm not going to push it because I think by that point then the thigh armor there, the white armor there might crack. And then twist back down there and then kick upwards. You can see he brings his leg up there. So you can actually do a leaping pose if you wanted to. And then bringing his leg back. Nice. Pretty much straight. I'm not going to push it too far again, but it goes a decent amount, like more than decent to be honest for a mech figure. And then the knee is very interesting. The knee is very similar again to other metal builds, I mean, and that can bend like so. And then it has that the dual mechanism where it kind of linkage mechanism where it links down. With this, thigh armor pulls that down, and then you can bring that back. Obviously, tuck the exhaust bit in. By the way, I didn't mention that. So here, the exhaust on the thigh, you can bring those back down like so, and then bring that out, and then that resets the leg back straight fixed, which looks beautiful. And then for the ankle is very stiff, which is probably best because obviously there's a lot of weight to carry on his feet. So up and down is quite good. So down there, like so. When you do this though, be careful. Oh, there, if it's good as fish, you could have to do it. So the heel, the left and right, you can see here, these silver bits here, are on separate little kind of pegs, you might say. So if you bring his heel too far up, what happens is these actually do come off. Now the reason being is if you look carefully there, that little spike bit there, just above the gold, that pushes in and splits the two off, and it happens on the other foot too. So just kind of be mindful of that. If you do want to do it, you can do it. Just be mindful of that. Now speaking of this bit, now that we're here, the heel bit here can drop down like so, which gives a little bit of extra ballast. Not really that much because this is actually not that sturdy, but it's a nice effect to have that coming out. I think it just looks really cool as a complete figure. Having that just looks a lot more menacing. It still looks perfectly good like so, but this is nice too. And then you've got the toe hinge there that moves upwards like so. That's the side view. And then you've got the rocker. The rocker is the stiff bit of this. So you can see that's there like that. And then there like that. Now the upper ankle armor plate bit does also move as well. When you want to get extra range of motion, just make sure you play around with this bit here. And then the teeth on it, I'm going to call them the teeth, these side bits here, or the ear pieces if it was a helmet, can also move a little bit wider and closer as well. I'm going to move them wide because I'm always kind of paranoid that they'll scratch the bone colored armor down there. But otherwise, just bring it down again, bring this foot back up, and then you kind of reset it back into a more neutral spot. We'll jump back to the arms because I think I missed a bit on the arm. So with the elbow bend, if you need to move the shoulder armor back, you can do that because that's just on a plastic swivel here, which I am a bit worried might crack. I remember my metal build cracking at that spot, but you can do that so you can get extra clearance so you can kind of reach his ear if you wanted to. But that's it for the articulation for this MNQ03. Very familiar for the metal build fans out there. I've got other metal builds, so I think things have changed a bit there too. But otherwise, I'm pretty satisfied with the articulation. Some bits are a little bit stiff, as I mentioned. My arm can be stiff on the right arm here and sometimes on the knee here too. But otherwise, it's pretty good. You'll get it into poses or decent poses that you want to. But you're going to be limited in how hands-on you go, given how expensive it is. You don't want to damage anything. So that's it for this Motor Nuclear MNQ03 Albing. There's a lot going on with this figure, lots of detail, lots of points, lots of assembly things to do. There's so much to talk about, and I hope I covered most of it. I know I didn't put everything in this video, but there is just that much to talk about. What I want to kind of reiterate though that might not be clear in the beginning of this video is how massively pain in the back setting up this figure was. It was such a frustration purely because of things like the broken ball joint that happened, so I was frustrated there, the stiffness of the joints that just kept creeping up with the dragon parts, the stuff poking you, grazing you, cutting you, stabbing you. I literally drew blood assembling this figure. But was it worth it? Yeah, I mean, I'll go through some pain just to get a cool looking figure. Sure, why not? It really is a great looking figure by the end of it. It does look fantastic. But do remember, once you do get it assembled, there is a lot of finessing to do, which can also be frustrating as well. So this definitely isn't a figure for the faint of heart for that reason. And also the price as well is very expensive for sure. But generally speaking, I really do like the figure. I do want to get the others, but the price and the space and then that frustration, I don't know if I'm in a rush to get the next figure, but definitely I think I will think about it for sure. If you've got it, let me know what you think down in the comments below. If it's out of your price range and you're just curious about this figure, let me know what you think anyway, because, you know, this isn't a figure for everyone. For sure it isn't a figure for everyone, but I do like what they were aiming for with this MNQ line. Hopefully, we'll see what happens in the future. If I get another one, I'll definitely do an unboxing of that. And for those of you that stayed for this entire video, I want to thank you. I'm very appreciative of that. And I hope to see you again. In the meantime, try not to let the figures poke you and make you bleed. Stay safe.